Have you ever wondered what really goes through a woman's mind the instant you stop reaching out? Not tomorrow, not next week, but right in that very moment when your silence replaces your words, something shifts, something breaks. And believe me, it's not what most men think. Most guys assume that if they disappear, she'll simply forget about them and move forward. But here's what actually happens. Your absence doesn't erase you from her thoughts. It magnifies you. Your silence becomes louder than any text message you could ever send. Inside her mind, questions start spinning. Why hasn't he texted? Did something change? Is there someone else now? And here's the fascinating part. These questions don't kill attraction. They intensify it. Uncertainty becomes the fuel that keeps her thinking about you, even when you're nowhere around. This isn't about playing immature mind games. This is about understanding the raw psychological reality of what happens when you withdraw your presence. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what unfolds in her world when you stop contacting her, and more importantly, how to maintain your composure like a true Stoic man through it all. And if you want to master the psychology of attraction and self-respect, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're diving deep into topics most people are afraid to discuss. Let's get into it. Phase 1, the disruption. The first thing she experiences isn't relief, it's not indifference either, it's disruption. A sudden break in the rhythm she didn't even know she was depending on. Human beings are pattern-driven creatures. We get comfortable with routines, our morning rituals, the buzz of our phones, the little interactions that punctuate our day. Your communication was one of those patterns in her life. Whether she valued it openly or not, she grew accustomed to it. Maybe she didn't always respond right away. Maybe she left you on scene sometimes. Maybe she even acted like your attention didn't matter much. But the truth, she leaned on it like background music playing softly in her day. She didn't consciously notice it when it was there. But the second it stopped, the silence became impossible to ignore. That's the disruption. It's phase 1. The disruption not about what you said, it's about what your presence represented. Availability, consistency, the quiet knowledge that you were there. When that vanishes overnight, her mind reacts in ways she can't control. At first, she brushes it off. He's probably just busy today. But when tomorrow comes and your name still doesn't light up her screen, something stirs. Not panic yet, but curiosity. Why is he quiet? By the third day, curiosity turns into doubt. Did I say something wrong? And if this resonates with you so far, go ahead and drop a comment below. Let me know if you've experienced this. Shift before. Phase 2, the mental loop. Here's what most men don't realize. Women are incredibly attuned to emotional shifts. They pick up on changes in tone, timing, energy, things you might not even think about. So when all of that suddenly disappears, it feels like the ground beneath her just shifted. Why does this hit her so hard? Because your silence interrupts her sense of security. For many women, attraction isn't just emotional, it's about certainty. Knowing you'll reach out gives her comfort. It gives her a sense of control. But when you stop, that control vanishes. Now she's left in a void, and the female mind despises a void. It rushes to fill it with questions, assumptions, imagined scenarios. Is he upset with me? Is he losing interest? Or has he already moved on? This is where silence transforms into something more powerful than words ever could. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer chasing. And in that unpredictability, her mind can't rest. She's forced to confront her own feelings and her own dependence on your attention. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine someone who gets dozens of compliments daily on social media. They barely notice them anymore because they're expected. But the moment those compliments stop, the silence feels heavier than the praise ever did. That's exactly how your absence works. It makes her feel something unexpected, the sting of loss. And ironically, the more she took you for granted before, the sharper that sting becomes when you finally step back. If you're finding value in this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're breaking down the psychology that most people never talk about, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Phase 3, uncertainty becomes obsession. If the first reaction is disruption, the second is far more dangerous. Uncertainty. And in the world of attraction, uncertainty is like gasoline on a fire. It consumes her. thoughts, and keeps you centered in her mind even when you're physically absent. Women hate unanswered questions. When something doesn't add up, their emotions don't settle, they escalate. That's why silence is so psychologically potent. It doesn't offer closure or clarity. Instead, it forces her to fill in the blanks herself. And trust me, her imagination doesn't stay quiet. Initially, her questions are simple. Is he busy? Did something happen? But as hours stretch into days, those thoughts spiral. Did I mess things up? Is he seeing someone else? That uncertainty isn't passive. It's emotionally charged. Phase 2, the mental loop. It makes her scroll through old messages. It makes her replay your last conversation, analyzing every word, every pause, searching for clues she might have missed. Suddenly, moments she barely noticed before feel loaded with meaning. And here's the paradox. Even negative emotions, frustration, confusion, even anger still bind her to you. She might vent to her friends, "I don't even know what's going on with him." She might act cold if you cross paths. But beneath it all, her mental energy is still focused on you. Your silence has made her invest emotionally in figuring you out. And the more she invests, the stronger the psychological tie becomes. Phase 4, the ego shock. Now, let's talk about ego, because this is where your silence cuts deepest. Women are used to attention. They get it from social media, from casual compliments, from the men who constantly reach out. Attention isn't just nice to have. For many women, it's expected. It reassures them that they're desirable, valued, in control. So when you stop contacting her, you're not just removing yourself. You're removing a source of validation she thought was guaranteed. That's when the ego shock kicks in. At first, she plays it cool. "I don't care. He'll reach out eventually." But as silence continues, that story cracks. She checks her phone more often. She might post something subtle or not so subtle on social media just to see if you'll react. Every single one of those behaviors stems from the same place, a bruised ego. Because when a woman accustomed to attention suddenly feels ignored, she feels something rare for her: irrelevance. And irrelevance is a wound most women can't tolerate for long. Here's what's powerful about this. Most men, when ignored, think she's not interested. But most women, when ignored, think, "Why isn't he interested? What's wrong with me?" That self-questioning is transformative. It forces her to confront the possibility that she's not as in control as she believed. And the more she questions, the more invested she becomes in getting answers. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed, because understanding this psychology will completely change how you navigate relationships and self-respect. Phase 5, silence as strength. Here's what you need to understand. Silence isn't emptiness, it's presence in disguise. The less you say, the louder your absence echoes. Every time she picks up her phone and doesn't see your name, that absence reverberates in her mind. Words can be argued with, words can be dismissed, but silence forces reflection. It holds up a mirror and makes her examine her own behavior, her own attitude, her own role in why things shifted. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strength. Strength rooted in self-control. Strength rooted in the understanding that your value isn't determined by how much attention you pour into someone who doesn't reciprocate. And ironically, that's what makes her start chasing again. Because women don't respect men they can control. They respect men who hold their ground. They respect men who refuse to hand over validation freely. Phase 3. Uncertainty becomes obsession. Final thoughts. So here's the truth. When you stop contacting her, you create a psychological shift that words never could. You force her to feel your absence, to question her assumptions, to invest emotionally in understanding you. But remember, this isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about refusing to reward indifference with more of your energy. It's about understanding your own worth and letting your silence speak for you. The man who can step back without bitterness, without drama, without needing to explain himself. That's the man she can't forget. Not because you played games, but because you showed her something rare. Genuine self-respect. If this video opened your eyes, Hit that like button and subscribe for more content on mastering yourself and understanding the psychology of attraction. Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. And remember, your silence is your power. Use it wisely.